Part 3. Pirate's Bounty Don't Run Away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 21. Seeing such a reminder again, Luogu's expression was a little dull, as if he was in a trance. Then he scratched his head. There's no reason. According to the general game's characteristics, even if there is a success rate, the probability of upgrading in the early stages will only gradually become smaller. There is not much change from LV to LV5. There is no reason. From LV5 to LV6, it becomes a chasm, right? Luogu, who had burned million yuan in the blink of an eye, hesitated. Seeing that there were only 3 black iron coins left in the balance, he decided not to be too ironic. So, this time he clicked on Julie LV2. Muscles, bones, information, all-round explosion, the physical fitness has been improved again, and the understanding of the skill is stronger. But in fact, the physical fitness has improved, but the strength has not improved much. The ability of Julie is not so much an enhancement of one's own ability, but rather an increase in the control of power. The power of swinging a blow is actually more than just a blow. Julie LV2, to put it bluntly, borrowed part of the strength of the whole body to enhance the explosive power of this blow. The huge power of LV allows Luogu to increase the amount of power he can use around him, so the force of this blow will also become very powerful. After experiencing this skill, Luogu clicked on the back of Julie again. The same change, the same feeling, the physical fitness has been enhanced again, and Julie has become LV4. Luogu thought for a while and spent another 10 million to buy a black iron coin. Then click on the back of Julie LV4. Leaving aside the changes, at this time Luogu clicked behind Zinuelio of LV5 without any hesitation. Luogu suddenly felt a headache. The gap really exists. Anyone who has played games, especially those with enhanced item systems, knows that there is something called a mat. Successive failures may bring success once, and continuous success may also bring inertial success, which is actually a small probability thing. The reason why Luogu did this just now is that he wanted to use Julie's continuous upgrade success to promote it. Let's try to see if he can also drive Zinuelio to upgrade. It still failed. Looking at his balance again, Luogu felt like crying. Bailey, who was already close to the 0.270000 million mark, had only million left in the blink of an eye. 60 million Baileys disappeared from the world. Well, it can't be said that everyone has evaporated. The huge power has been raised to LV5, and it also cost million. But the remaining million has really disappeared. Luogu sighed deeply and looked at his balance, still a little unwilling to give up. Is it just that Zinuelio's hung LV6 is like this? Anyway, I still have money now, and I can still play to my death. Gritting his teeth, he bought another coin and put it on Julie LV5, then failed, 4 times. Luogu felt that tears were about to come from the corners of his eyes. It was too painful, it's all living money. Looking at the 2,000 Baileys in the balance, he shook his head. This is a trap, I can't continue to try, otherwise, no amount of money will be enough to burn it. No, it's not right. A different light suddenly appeared in his eyes. It shouldn't be said that no amount of money is enough to burn, it can only be said that my money is not enough for me to burn. 10 million? 100 million? How naive. 100 million can how many minutes to burn? Since the black iron coin is the cheapest, there is obviously a limit to the degree of skill improvement, so the subsequent gold coins and diamond coins should be different. Therefore, enough money, 1 billion, can 1 gold coin raise Zinuelio to LV6? The possibility is very high. Otherwise, why would there be a coin shop? Why are there 3 types of coins in the coin shop? It must be that each coin has a different effect, and the higher the price of the coin, the better the effect should be. Absolutely. Luogu thought of this, and did not delay here any longer. Anyway, the loot that should be looted has been looted, and these things are really valuable. Returning to my ship from the pirate ship, the defeated pirates are still lying on the ground. Luogu's attack was too heavy this time. The Mad Moon 131 move was performed with an iron rod. The fatal injury may not be greater than that of Black Pill, but the damage caused will definitely far exceed it. Just looking at these pirates, there are many missing arms and legs. Luogu first found a rope and tied up all those with missing arms and legs. Then came to the pirate captain. The prompt came into being, and Luogu naturally had no other options. The chain was born out of thin air, wrapped around the captain of the pirate with a clatter, and was wrapped into a dumpling-like thing in a short while, leaving only one head left outside to breathe. What the hell is Luogu's shadow? The corner of Rogu's mouth twitched, and he stretched out his hand to pat Flotta's face. "Wake up." "Was awake all the time," Flotta said, spraying her teeth. "Let's talk about it," Luogu said with a smile. "Now, there is probably nothing worth hiding, right? Cindy is our man, we get news from him, and then act." One sentence explains their operating rules clearly. The owner of a bar in Luogu town does not go to sea all year round. How many people can think that this person has such a relationship with a pirate group? And as a local snake, how many people are willing to get help from him? Judging from this guy's performance, at least he is very good at all aspects, but it also caused many people to be killed without a sound. For example, if someone asked him about the route, it would be a dead end. He gave them some pointers, figured out their defense strength, and then revealed the news. Flotta here received the news and just waited for the action. Or, introduce some crew and sailors to some people who don't know the truth, and eventually get poisoned inexplicably. Flotta and the others can even take down everything without bloodshed. To be honest, it is indeed very insidious. I don't know, so there are probably many people who have been recruited. Otherwise, they would not be able to accumulate such a large amount of wealth. It's just that this trick is not easy for Luogu. He has a natural advantage. After all, if the opponent is standing in front of him, if it is a pirate, the arrest warrant will immediately jump out. No matter how good his acting skills are, it is useless. Xind actually suffered a loss from Luogu's golden finger. Pirate's bounty, don't run away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 22. Blue sky, white clouds, and tranquil sea. Sheng. In fact, most of the long-term voyages are not so magnificent, but boring. The unchanging scenery, like a sailboat that has stayed in place and never moved, the land that cannot be seen for a long time, will make people have an urge to try to collapse. Fortunately, Luogu had already been mentally prepared for all this. Therefore, even if it is a boring voyage, he does not feel that it is really painful, especially after there are so many cuties on the ship. The little cuties are busy, their hands and feet are in shackles, but they are still busy. Busy repairing the wall that Rogu smashed, busy repairing more cells at the bottom of the cabin, busy removing those decorations on the Alrita pirate ship that made Rogu more disgusting. Most importantly, the pirate flag on the ship must be replaced. When going out to sea, Luogu didn't think so much, but after meeting an ordinary merchant ship, Luogu realized what this thing meant to those ordinary people. There are simply a lot of little cuties on the boat. Those whose legs were broken and disabled were all controlled. For those who were still able to move, Rogu used the equipment on the Flotta boat to restrain their bodies. Aggressive, then let them do coolies on the ship. Euphemistically called, the dedication of the little cuties. Short name, dedication of love. Originally, according to Cindy's words, an ordinary sailor's monthly salary should be at least 100,000 Baileys. But now, these people are doing harder work than sailors, but they don't need a penny, and after the next town, if Luogu wants to, he can exchange them for money. Pirates, really, it's a bunch of cute guys. Luogu sat on the chair contentedly, looking at the busy pirates with a satisfied smile on his lips. Then write and draw in the diary next to it. He is designing the pattern of the flag. To be honest, there is absolutely nothing to refer to. As for the pirate flag, although each one is different and has its own characteristics, in the final analysis, a skeleton is indispensable. That is the most original horror, declaring the horror of pirates. But Pirate Hunter, how? Against skeletons, will it be impossible to make a cross, or is it an exorcist? Luagu kept drawing in the diary, then denied it, and finally found inspiration from Alrita's iron rod. Because this thing is so easy to use, it can be used to deal with pirates, not only can cause a large area of damage, but also can make them lose their resistance. It is definitely the best choice for arresting people. Other than that, it's probably Kuromaru. Right now, it's my strongest attack method. Luogu drew a black iron rod on the diary, and then drew a knife, and the two crossed. Touching his chin to look, he felt a little weird, isn't it, a little monotonous. By the way, chains. After successful capture, there will be chains, which can be regarded as a feature. Then he added a chain pattern behind the two, encircling the knife and the iron rod. Looking at it this way, it's much more three-dimensional. Luogu felt satisfied this time, and then looked at the sail above his head again. This ship originally belonged to Alrita, so a huge pink heart was painted on the sail very girlishly. This thing doesn't match Luogu at first sight. He clapped his hands, and the sound of the chain rattled quickly. Cindy trotted all the way to Luogu with the heavy shackles. "Captain, what do you want?" Luogu tore off the pattern he drew in the diary and said to him, "Change the flag, use this." Then I changed all the patterns on the sails. "Change it to what?" Cindy rubbed her hands and asked with a dogged look on her face. Luogu did not hesitate, and said with a smile, "Pirate Hunter. Just hang the 4 pirate hunters on the sails. For the pirates, as long as they see it, it is absolutely impossible to pretend that they didn't see it. As long as you are a pirate, you will want to teach the pirate hunter a lesson. Then these pirates would be like moths to a flame, embarking on a path of no return. And Luogu will reap a lot of small money." When Luogu thought of this, he felt that a bright future was heading towards him. Cindy's face turned green, but she wanted to persuade her, but she also knew that no matter what she said now, it would not work. He failed to deceive others by himself, and now he is reduced to a prisoner, and he has to listen to what others say. The only thing he worries about is, if there are really powerful pirates who can't understand Luogu and kill him, will they finally turn their anger on these hard-working pirates like himself? But it was useless to worry. Luogu obviously didn't intend to listen to other words, so he waved his hand to order him to come down, and Cindy could only agree. With his life hanging by his hands, he had to bow his head. The speed of the pirates is still very fast. Although they are all wearing shackles, there is no problem in doing some basic work. Soon, the peach hearts on the sails have become the 4 characters of Pirate Hunter. Swaying with the wind, so arrogant. The brand new flag has also been prepared, and it makes a strong sound when the sea breeze blows. Pirate Hunter, Noros Rogu. Luogu stood up, walked to the bow, looked at the vast ocean. A smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. "It's still very touching. Well, even this bow needs to be changed. I don't know what the original bow of Arita was. It might have been a swan or a roast duck. It looked really unimpressive. Even if you hang a chrysanthemum on the bow like Luffy, it would be better than what you are doing now. Forget it." As for the transformation in this aspect, Luogu felt that it would be better to wait until the next docking. It was still too early. He called Cindy again and asked how the construction of the cell on the ground floor was going, and the result was that it was about to be completed. Luogu was also very satisfied with this, and after they finished the cell thoroughly, Luogu checked it himself, and sent most of the cute in there. Only the 5 people that Cindy had found at the beginning were left outside to manage the things on board. From this day on, Luogu felt that his sailing life became more peaceful. The big ship of the pirate hunter floated above the East China Sea. 1 day or 2 passed, 3 days and 4 days passed, 10 days and 8 days passed, and the sea surface was as calm as a painting. No pirates came to find fault, no storms were encountered, and even a few merchant ships were not seen. Then, Rogu saw land. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Pirate's Bounty Don't Run Away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 23. The ship docked, and Luogu stood on the observation deck and used a telescope to observe the situation on the land. Point 1 Kanju. Well, there is a small town, but I don't seem to see the navy, and I don't see people. Oh, there are people. The binoculars are not particularly clear, but scattered pedestrians can be seen wandering in the town. However, compared with this huge town, these people seem to be a little less. Although a little unclear, Luogu still decided to go up and have a look. After sailing at sea for so long, not to mention pirates, I haven't even seen a ghost. It's so easy to see the land, and why not go up and look around? The pirates on the ship have all been imprisoned in the cells on the bottom floor, including Cindy, and the 5 pirates who boarded the ship first. Although it is said that if you see a town, there is a good chance that there will be a navy in the town, but what if there is no one? Taking such a group of people to go, and then bringing them back, this is not the time to let go. If the navy is really there, the navy can just come and take them away, and save Luogu the effort of escorting them. After tidying up his clothes, carrying the iron rod and black pill behind his back, Luogu jumped off the boat. Although he had seen it with telescopes on the ship before, it was only after he actually set foot in this town that Luogu felt it. This town is really empty. The empty ones reminded Luogu of a song. What about people? Luogu walked on the streets of the town, his eyes casually scanned the surrounding buildings one by one. The biggest feeling was that the architectural style of this town was relatively normal. Rows of white walls and red tiles, streets paved with blue stones, and warm sunshine. The overall feeling should be a very warm town. As a result, there was no one there. Did everyone make an appointment not to go out during the day? While pondering in his mind, Luogu came to the door of a house, pushed it, and the door opened. Go through the door, enter the porch, and you can see the living room. The living room was quite normal. Luogu even changed his shoes, walked in, searched around the room, and found, there was really no one there. Could it be that there are ghost stories in the world of One Piece? No, I saw someone walking on the street from the observation tower. With a trace of bewilderment, Luogu changed back his shoes and returned to the street. Deep into this empty town. This feeling is actually very novel to him, and it does have a little excitement of adventure. It would be great if we could have a few pirates. While talking to himself, the sound of creaking wheels suddenly came from afar. It was probably because the town was empty and the alleys helped Chien, so that the sound was intermittent, melodious, and ethereal, and it was obviously still far away, but it happened to come early. Luogu followed the sound and looked around, but saw no one, and then saw 4 lines of characters. Wanted. Kabaka. 4 million Bailey. Qualified for arrest. These 4 lines of characters seem to appear directly within a few hundred meters of Luogu. And there is nothing that can block the penetration of these 4 lines of characters, whether it is flowers, trees, walls, or streets, everything cannot be blocked. This also caused the current weird situation. Before Luogu saw anyone, he saw the 4-line characters getting closer and closer to him. Accompanied by the weird creaking sound, after a while, he saw a man riding a unicycle, appeared in Luogu's field of vision. Allah, Allah! It's a foreigner. After seeing Luogu, the pirate named Kabeji laughed heartily. Everyone in the town is participating in the celebration today. Are you a pirate hunter? Haha, because someone saw you ship, so I am the one they sent to invite you to the celebration. When he arrived, Kabeke with the knife on his waist smiled gently. My name is Kabeke. I'm very glad to meet Mr. Pirate Hunter. Luogu smiled, so that's the case. I just said, why is there no one in the town? If you don't show up again, I thought it was haunted. How could it be haunted? This is a peaceful town. He bowed slightly, and steered the unicycle aside. Please. Luogu nodded, and glanced at the knife on his waist again. This is props for the celebration, Kabeke replied immediately without any hesitation. Luogu's eyes lit up. Can you show me this? Kabeke hesitated. It's okay, let's go. Luogu acted very naturally, without the slightest intention of forcing others into difficulties. Kabeke breathed a sigh of relief, and said with a smile, how did you come to Orange Town? Did you hear about something? Turning around, Kabeji's eyes were already shining with a cold light, and when he was asking, one hand was already pressed on the handle of the knife. What did you hear? Luogu's voice came from behind. It seems that there are no strange legends, right? I sailed out to sea to look for pirates, but the pirates were not found. I found land first, and then came up to sea. Look. Kabeke nodded. That's great. It is good. Of course. Why is it good? Because. Kabeke suddenly pulled the knife out of its sheath, choked, and turned around. You are going to die. However, when the light of the knife fell, the people behind him had disappeared. In the moment of astonishment, something bad suddenly occurred in his heart, and before he turned around, a sharp pain suddenly spread from the back of his head to his whole body. Without making a sound, Kabeke fell off the wheelbarrow and lay motionless on the ground. Luogu looked at the big iron rod with the Arita brand in his hand and sighed with satisfaction. It works really well. Although facing head-on, Luogu is confident that he can easily abuse him several times, but if it can save trouble, why not? The sound of rattling chains came out of nowhere, and in a blink of an eye even Kabeke and his wheelbarrow were tightly entangled. Is the unicycle part of the package? Luogu didn't know whether to laugh or cry, and then he didn't go inside, just sat here and waited. After seeing this image named Kabeke, he already knew the general situation of the island. Orange Town, Kabeke, unicycle, swordsmanship like acrobatics, then it must be Bucky the Clown. But this guy wasn't on my capture list. Why did I suddenly come here? He glanced thoughtfully at the direction he came from, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. However, the 15 million big pirate, although he has not grown to the late stage, it seems pretty good if he is caught now. Not bad. Pirate's bounty, don't run away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 24. He came to the world of One Piece and decided to become a pirate hunter. Luogu must have some calculations in his mind. According to the pissing nature of his golden finger and the timeline when he met Alrita, the arrest list that Luogu made for himself is actually very simple. In the East China Sea, there are a few people who must be caught. The first one is Captain Crow from Silob village, worth million. The second one is Admiral Click of the Click pirate ship, which is worth million. The third one is Aaron, who runs rampant in Coco West village, Nami's hometown. He is a pirate worth million and is also the most valuable in the entire East China Sea. The main reason why these three people are on the list is that according to the original book, these guys have almost no growth potential. Captain Crow was disgusted with the life of being a pirate. After feigning death, he played a rather rudimentary trick, and spent time just wanting to become a rich man. In fact, strictly speaking, this guy can no longer be regarded as a pirate. Later, he was dealt with by Luffy, and then it ended perfectly. As for Admiral Creek, this guy is even more pitiful. He was chased by Hawkeye all the way from the Great Route back to the East China Sea. The entire journey of the Great Route ended in 7 days, and then he met Luffy in the restaurant on the sea. The result is self-evident. Therefore, Luogu felt that it was necessary to put this guy on the list. Compared with the weaker ones, the bounty thief was higher. Who would be caught if not him? The last Eren, needless to say this. After messing around in Nami's hometown, he is already a pirate with no lofty ambitions. He just wants to be king in one place. Keeping him is a disaster. After catching him, he can improve his strength. Why not? As for the other pirates encountered on the way, even though they were not on the list, they accepted them as they were ordered. It's just that there are still some that haven't grown up, and Luogu doesn't plan to catch them. For example, Usopp in Psylop village. When this product arrived, the reward was already as high as million. But now 5,000 people don't want it, and it is still a fruit that is extremely young. The same goes for Luffy. As for Bucky the Clown, although the bounty is now as high as million, it is far behind compared to him who came out of Impel Down later. Although the various experiences of this guy can only be said to be erroneous, but he can also see the future, so Luogu has no plan to arrest this guy now. But I didn't expect that. I found a random place and landed there, and it turned out to be Orange Town. Why did I see Orange Town when I landed, and after learning the reputation of Bucky the Clown, the pirate hunter Noros Rogu turned around and ran away. There's no such thing as fun. Although Luogu has not become famous yet, he will definitely become famous in the future. If this matter spreads in the future, won't it increase the reputation of Bucky the Clown? No matter how you look at it, it doesn't work. Anyway, this guy only became king after he came out of Impel Down. If he is caught now, it can only be regarded as being ahead of schedule. But how to calculate the bad relationship between him and Luffy? Luogu touched his chin and thought of Bucky the Clown scenes in the original work, such as the scene in Raj Town where Luffy almost beheaded. Finally he shook his head. Whatever, the plot has nothing to do with me. Relationship. Now that I have come to this world, the original book can only be used as a reference. If you are tied up because of the original plot, it will be a bit boring. The most important thing is that since I have come, many things will inevitably be broken. Unless I am beaten to death early, otherwise, it is inevitable that many things will change. Sitting against the wall, Luogu let go of his thoughts and waited quietly. He was too lazy to bother waiting here, since he knew that this was Orange Town. Luogu understood why there was no one in this town. The pirate group of the clown Bucky occupied this town, and the people in the town were afraid of the pirates, so they all ran away. It seems that there is only one town or village chief left here, planning to fight Bucky to the death, and I don't know where he got the courage from. But now they saw their own ship, and then sent Kabaka to die. As a result, after Kabaka sent a blood, it was absolutely impossible for the remaining people to sit firmly on the Diaotai. In other words, the small money people will soon be lining up to come to collect their money, not to mention being caught. That's great. Luogu nodded with satisfaction, and then time passed by minute by second until a large number of 4-line characters appeared in Luogu's field of vision. This is a very wonderful perspective, just like opening a perspective hanging. Through the wall and the street, a large number of 4-line characters appeared in his field of vision. Some people were running in the alleys, some were still running on the rooftops, some people forked off and went to the other side as if they were going to block their retreat. What a bunch of cute little Qian. Luogu stood up from the ground and patted his butt, only to see Kabaji glaring at him. This guy woke up at some point. Despicable foreigner. Kabaka spoke. Luogu thought for a moment, put a finger in front of his lips, and made a silent gesture. Kabaka sneered, "How could I, a noble pirate, succumb in front of a bounty hunter like you? In his rage, he planned to yell, and then threatened Luogu. The threat had already been drafted in his heart, and when he was about to speak, a black iron rod fell from the sky. While he was losing consciousness, all the things in his mind were replaced by one question: do you mean to silence me because you want to hit me? Shadows shrouded the head, and two steel knives fell from the sky. The battle started in this silent moment. The black iron rod streaked through the air, like swatting flies. When the two pirates were on the ground, their entire bodies were almost falling apart. The roar of a wild beast suddenly sounded, and Luogu turned around and saw a thing that looked like a lion, with scarlet eyes heading straight for his face. Luogu was very happy after seeing it. It seems like we can add another dish tonight. It didn't take much effort to turn it over with a stick. Nich! The man in strange attire exclaimed, and then accused Luogu of what did you do to Li Ji? Luogu gave him an answer. Len Yu style. Luogu felt that his Xinuelia was actually reasonable. For example, the Arc Moon 3 style is indeed 3 swords, the Kuangyu 131 style is indeed 131 swords, but it can be used repeatedly, and the Lenjia 1 style is naturally 1 sword. It's just that now the knife turned into a stick, and when the stick went down, the guy with the strange clothes and the bear's fake ears, his head was full of blood, and he lay on the ground with a thud like a blood gourd. The clattering chains completely entangled him, taking with him the lion named Li Ji next to him. Pirate's Bounty, Don't Run Away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 25. There is also a square in the center of Orange Town. Its function is about the same as the square in Moon Village. If there is a celebration in the town, it should be crowded with people. However, there are no crowds here at this time, only tents. Generally speaking, if there is a circus to perform in the local area, they will live in such a tent, and the venue will also be in the tent. But this circus looks very unprofessional. Although the shapes of the tents were similar, they were small in size. There were a bunch of people in strange clothes outside, not too many people, but they all guarded outside a big tent. A clown was sitting inside the tent at this time. De Majin Deo, with his elbows resting on his knees, his hands crossed and his chin crossed, looking out coldly. I don't know what's so good about it. The peaceful streets and the warm sunshine all seem to have a deep hatred for him. Not yet back. Some angry voices came from the clown's mouth. The few people outside were trembling at that time, and one of them stammered, Captain Babaji, they should be back soon. Useless waste. Bucky the clown had a gloomy face. Even his red nose couldn't save this gloomy face. He's just a little pirate hunter, but it took him so long. Several pirates looked at me and I looked at you. The person who spoke first seemed to have gained some courage and whispered, maybe the opponent is too strong. The Baki sat there without moving, but the expression of the man who spoke suddenly changed. A hand suddenly appeared in front of him at some point, grabbed his neck, and lifted him up. Captain Babaji, spare your life, spare your life. The person was in mid-air, kicking his legs in vain, trying to speak tremblingly. How could a pirate hunter be too strong? How could a bunch of losers chasing after pirates be too strong? Bucky's voice came one after another, like layers of ocean waves. As the voice dropped, the strength of his hand became heavier and heavier. Forgive me, I was wrong, they will never be able to become Captain Bucky's opponents. They are not qualified. The strength in his hand suddenly relaxed, and the person fell to the ground with a clatter. Bucky's cold voice sounded, they have no qualifications to compare with me. Tata tata. The sound of cold footsteps came to everyone's ears at this moment. Looking around, I saw a young man carrying an iron rod walking towards the square step by step. As he walked, he picked his ears. After waiting for a long time, you didn't come, so I had to come and find you. Who are you, this guy? One of the pirates didn't seem to understand the situation. He came to the young man with a swoosh and stretched out a finger. "Take a step forward and let you know how scary the Bucky pirates are." What responded to him was the sound of an iron rod hitting his head. The next moment, the person was lying on the ground. 5,000 Luogu glanced at the guy on the ground, then glanced at the tent over there, and said with a smile, "Don't come out yet. So, Kabaki and Machi have been defeated by you." Bucky's gloomy voice came out, full of majesty and oppression. Luogu subconsciously picked his ears. If he didn't know that this guy was really funny, he would have been fooled by his voice. He shook the iron rod in his hand, and if he looked closely, he would find that although the iron rod was still dark and strong, it was already stained with blood. Especially the original spikes on the iron rod were almost rounded. It can be seen from this that in Luogu's hands, this thing is really making the best use of it. Bucky and his pirates watched Rogu swing the iron club here, as if he was preparing for a baseball game. However, the next moment, Luogu had already arrived in front of a pirate, put away his stick, and the pirate rushed to the street. "Depend on up for Captain Bucky." After Luogu heard it, he guessed that the slogans of the pirates seemed to be mostly the same, just like the pirate flag of the pirates. "It's like if you don't fight for someone, you won't fight. Arc Moon 3 styles." A cold voice resounded, and the next second, 3 dark moon arcs suddenly appeared. If this trick is performed with a knife, the arc light is the light of the knife, and it can cut all the people in the middle with a single sweep. However, switching to a stick at this time had a different effect. The arc was shrouded, and a stick hit a pirate's waist first, but it did not pass through the body. Blunt weapons do not have the ability to cut a person in half. Then the stick drove the person forward and continued. 1, 2, 3 Bucky. There were less than 10 people guarding the door, and all of them were hit by the stick. In the beginning, the stick was still crushing, and in the later stage, the pirate on the stick crushed other pirates. When this trick was used up, all the pirates were gathered together. Luogu waved his hand, rumbling, and the pirates fell into a ball. This move is not very effective. Luogu looked at the stick in his hand and saw that the power of the Arc Moon 3 style had not been fully exerted. But the good thing is that although the power has not been really exerted, at least these little pirates have all lied down, and it is estimated that no one will be able to stand up in a short time. "Not come out yet." Luogu set his sights on the tent again. "Ha ha 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 ha." Bucky suddenly burst into laughter. "I never expected that a kid like you who doesn't know how to live or die would appear in this small East China Sea." Luogu looked calm, then looked down at his hands. There was an extra hand on each wrist of the 2 hands, and the 2 hands held Luogu's hands behind his back. What's even more exaggerated is that in the next second, a head suddenly emerged from the tent. Bucky's big head, with a huge red nose, was extremely arrogant, with hysterical laughter. "You think I didn't come out? In fact, I have already come out. Lord Bucky's torn fruit will allow you to have a good experience of the cruelty of this world." The head flew very fast, and the blade in its mouth went straight to Luogu's neck. It was obvious that his goal was to use this knife to cut Luogu's throat. Seeing that the distance was getting closer, the arrogance and indifference in Bucky's eyes became deeper, but at this moment, his field of vision suddenly seemed to be blocked by something. "Take a closer look. Here I go, a big foot." Bucky could even see the blood stains on the soles of the big feet. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Pirate's Bounty, Don't Run Away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 26. Boom. As if the sound of playing football sounded, Bucky felt his field of vision getting higher and higher. After flying to a certain height, he shook his head. "It hurts." His head sank and fell from the air, his eyes full of ferocity and blood. Point 1 Kanju. How dare you kick the great clown Bucky with your stinky feet? I don't know if Bucky has learned from Sauron, and I don't understand why this guy still speaks so clearly with a knife in his mouth. His head flew towards Luogu again like the wind. But after accepting the first lesson, he walked around behind Luogu. Even if there is no way to cut your throat, I can cut your neck. How does it feel when your body is controlled and you can't break free? What about the feeling that you can't see with your eyes and can only wait for death a little? Bucky deliberately made himself speak in a relatively slow tone, and moved closer as he spoke, as if death was approaching. However, just when he was about to reach his destination and was about to slash Luogu's neck with the knife in his mouth, there was a whistling wind in his ears. What? Turning his head to look, he saw a foot slanted towards him. This turn of the head adjusted the position even more, and brought his face under the foot. One kick. Fly faster this time. It's just a head, how can it withstand the powerful and heavy attack of 2 feet? The knife in his mouth couldn't hold it anymore, and he fell to the ground with a slam, and his head slammed into a tent, which fell down, covering his head inside. Eh? Who turned off the light? The head that was covered in the tent still made a sound, but it never lost consciousness. Luogu kept his hands tied behind his back, glanced at the tent, and shook his head helplessly. He exerted force on his arms and insisted on holding his hands back, and his hands were immediately freed. Want to run? The head that was covered in the tent made a sound again, and then the 2 hands floating in the air grabbed over like headless chickens. Even if you turn off the light, the great clown Bucky will definitely. It's a nightmare you can't resist. Luogu watched the hands tearing the face of a pirate vigorously. The pirate was knocked unconscious by Luogu and couldn't move. The whole face was almost torn into an abstract painting. Then he stepped into the tent. A body without a head and 2 hands was sitting with a big sword. One leg was still shaking irritably, as if he was worried about turning off the lights. Luogu took out the Alrita brand iron stick, aimed at the body and tried to swing it twice, but he always felt that it would be a bit difficult if it wasn't for the head. Looking back at the head has already pushed up the entire tent at this time, flying around aimlessly. If you saw such a scene suddenly in the middle of the night, it is estimated that there will be a new version of the legend of the ghost. What's ridiculous is that while the head was flying, it was still talking. Damn it, where did it go? Come out to Uncle Bucky and let us fight with dignity. Luogu just smiled, and then picked up Bucky's collar at the back of his neck. However, the body fell into pieces the moment Luogu picked it up. Not only were they torn apart, but they were flying all over the sky. Ha 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 ha. Do you think you can use my body to threaten me? The head with the tent on it let out a wild laugh. You can only expose your own position. You are in my tent, I'm here to kill you. The head issued a menacing declaration, staring at the tent, and suddenly accelerated. He was furious. His head was flying faster than before, which also drove the wind, and the wind blew away the tent above his head, and the sky suddenly appeared. The clown Bucky squinted his eyes. Before the fierce light had time to condense in his eyes, the sight of the snow-white wall filled all his vision. Boom! A sound that contained dullness and transparency, as if it was ripe, came from a light tapping, and it scattered in the air. Luogu was still standing in the tent, dumbfounded. He has never seen so many pirates. He swears that during the whole process, he did nothing but kick the guy twice. I planned to take his body to lead him over, but also because my head was flying a little high, and Luogu couldn't reach it. But the result? He flew for a long time and uttered harsh words for a long time. Apart from pinching the faces of his subordinates with bruises, he just knocked himself out with a brow. Very good, very powerful. I really thought that my head and body would sense something. I could feel the position of my body, but it still flew like a fool. Roga glanced at Bucky's body parts on the ground. Because his head had lost consciousness, these parts also lost their ability to move. Does this count as something I took down? Luogu was suddenly a little unsure. After all, he was the one who knocked him unconscious, but fortunately, he was sure of it quickly. I found a part at random, put my palm up, and a prompt popped up immediately. After choosing to capture, clattering chains suddenly appeared from all directions, and then from all corners, Bucky's body parts were collected. Got together. In the end, it was Bucky's head that was wrapped in the chain and flew over. Apart from a big red nose, there was also a big bag on his forehead. Luogu almost didn't laugh when he saw it. Why are you so ugly and cute? After the head was put back in place, the chains were wound around the whole body, and finally all but one head were covered again. Can this chain invalidate the ability of the devil fruit? Luogu looked at the chain and thought to himself, after all, this guy is a devil fruit capable user. If the chain didn't have the corresponding function, of course he wouldn't be able to move his body when he turned around, and it would be quite awkward to have his head flying around on the boat. When I was thinking about this in my heart, I found another reminder suddenly appeared in front of my eyes. Luogu's eyes lit up. The last time a special bounty was issued, he obtained a hunter qualification certificate and a skill. Could it be that the hunter license has been upgraded? With that in mind, I clicked on this prompt. Between falls. Luogu thought for a while, and then opened his hunter qualification certificate. Hunter qualification certificate. Holder, Noros Rogu. Skills, Zinuelio LV5, Julie LV5. Coin, Dark Iron Coin 4. Bailey, 47270000. Coin Shop. Between Falls. Sure enough, this should be regarded as an upgrade of the hunter's license, right? Just as he was about to open the cave to see what it was, a voice suddenly came from beside him. Who are you? What happened here? Pirate's Bounty, Don't Run Away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 27. Luogu looked back and saw a well-armed old man wearing a pair of glasses. Obviously looking terrified, his legs couldn't help shaking, but he still tried his best to maintain his composure. Looking at his unique appearance, Luogu probably knew the identity of this person. Smiling slightly, are you the village head here? Mayor. The old man's stubborn appearance looks very remarkable. Oh, okay then, Luogu asked, it seems that there is no navy in this town. If there is, can you still be allowed to be rampant? Who are you? Asked the old man. Rogu scratched his head and glanced at the pirates everywhere. Noros Rogu, pirate hunter, by the way, since you are the mayor, can you do me a favor? Pirate, hunter. The mayor was so surprised that he gasped, you defeated them all by yourself. After finishing speaking, he remembered Luogu's words again, and quickly asked, what do you want me to do for you? It's nothing, help me find some ropes, or something like shackles, are there any in the village? There are some. The mayor nodded quickly, and then disappeared without a trace. You're obviously old, and your body is really good, Luogu smiled, and then started his own way of collecting loot. Before arresting Flota's group, they harvested a large amount of spoils, which gave Rogu a taste of the sweetness. I thought that Bucky's bounty was far higher than Flota's, and the treasury should be full. But in fact, when Luogu found it, he found that his wealth was a bit pitiful. After all the calculations, the total value is 3 million belly. People are more dead than people, and goods are thrown away. Luogu sighed, and then realized that judging a pirate's wealth by bounty is shameful and not advisable. Not to mention anything else, One Piece has reached the later stage, and Luffy can be regarded as a real big pirate, right? Does he have money? He has ass money. Among Bucky's pile of junk, the only one that was more useful, and one that Luogu had ignored before, was a navigational chart. Nautical chart for the Great Route. After putting away this map, the mayor returned. But he was not the only one who came back, and brought a large group of people from the town with him. It almost goes without saying what happened next. These people in the town hated Bucky and his gang. Knowing that Luogu was going to exchange them for bounties, they volunteered to handcuff them one by one. After all the pirates were under control, they invited Luogu to stay and hold a banquet. Although this link should be regarded as the meaning of the question, Luogu still refused. After all, including Bucky and his group, there are a lot of pirates on the ship. Although there are cells for detention, it may not be % safe. So many pirates are equivalent to so much money, so how can Luogu safely throw it on the boat, and then come to eat meat and drink by himself? I asked the mayor about the nearest naval station, but the mayor was also confused about it and didn't know where it was. Although everyone is in the East China Sea, they are separated by vast oceans. How many people have never set foot on the sea in their entire lives? It is naturally unknown what is on the other side of the sea. With the help of the big guys, Luogu transported the group of pirates to the ship and imprisoned them one by one. In the end, the 5 pirates were released and let them sail. Luogu stood on the side of the boat and bid farewell to the mayor and the others. After they could no longer be seen, Luogu turned back and entered the cabin, all the way down to the cell at the bottom. There are already a lot of pirates imprisoned here. There were 56 people in Flota's group before, and there were 72 in Bucky's group including Bucky. Bucky has woken up at this time, wrapped in chains like a caterpillar, rubbing on the ground repeatedly, seeing Rogu's arrival, very angry. "Damn boy, how dare you treat the great Bucky like this, Captain? I been arrested, can I stop for a while?" Luogu paused slightly, glanced at him, and said with a smile. "If you hadn't turned off the light suddenly, no, you suddenly blocked my sight with a despicable method." Bucky still felt unconvinced. Luogu ignored him, and did not abuse him. In fact, Luogu has always been patient with these guys who will become his own money sooner or later. Going forward, then stood outside a prison cell, looked at the people inside, smiled and said, "Come out." Cindy slowly got up from the ground, looked at Luogu cautiously, but quickly lowered her head. "Captain, you are back." "Yeah," Luogu agreed, and opened the door of the cell. "Are you a little disappointed?" Cindy, who was about to go out, trembled with his heels, almost fell to the ground, and quickly made a gesture of fear. "Captain, I don't understand what you said." "Oh," Luogu said with a smile, "I thought you had heard about Captain Bucky, so you brought me here on purpose. Do you mean to tell me that this was just an accident?" Cindy's body suddenly froze. Bucky the Clown, the great pirate of 15 million, this news is actually uncertain for him. In the East China Sea, where the average bounty is only 3 million, the million big pirate is like a legend, as ethereal as it gets. But even so, it was an opportunity, a possibility, so he deviated from the original channel and came to Orangetown. All it asks for is a struggle. If there is really a big pirate here, it is self-evident what will happen when you see the pirate hunter delivered to your door. Just judging from the current results, it seems that the big pirates really exist, but the pirate hunters who came to the door have become wolves mixed with sheep. Not only were they not killed by the big pirates, but they were killed one by one, tied up and brought back to the boat. This result is very heartbreaking. What's even more heartbreaking is that Luogu noticed it. "Bucky, let me introduce you to someone." Cindy was terrified, and Luogu said, "This is Cindy, he is a very capable uncle. I owe it to him to find you." Cindy's mouth grew bigger and bigger, and while he was dumbfounded, he looked at Bucky again. On top of his red nose was a pair of blood-red eyes, and there was a big blood-red bag on top of the blood-red eyes, ugly and ugly. Although the shape is ugly and cute, the murderous look in the eyes is genuine. Determined to distinguish, but powerless. What's more frightening is that when Cindy glanced at her captain from the corner of her eye, she found that the Captain Flota's eyes also had a glint of contemplation. This made Cindy feel even colder, because Flota had asked him a question before. "You obviously drugged him, why is he still so strong?" Pirate's Bounty Don't Run Away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 28. Yes, he was obviously drugged, why is he still so strong? Cindy also couldn't figure out this question. But it's okay if he can't figure it out. If Captain Flota can't figure it out, there may be problems. Cindy is responsible for finding the target, and Cindy is responsible for prescribing the drug. As a result, the target was found, but the drug was not administered clearly, and then everyone in Flota was arrested. If it is not clear why Roga was not poisoned, it is very likely that Flota will mistake Cindy for betrayal in the end. The purpose is also very simple. There is so much wealth on the ship, plus Flota itself is worth 3 million, all of which are worth it. But now, if Logo says this to Bucky again, what will Flota, who was already suspicious, think? Thinking of this, Cindy felt like crying to death. Because before this incident, he had not greeted his captain. Firstly, space and time did not allow it, and secondly, the less people knew about this incident, the better the result might be. But at the time when he was killed, he never thought that such a result would happen. Well done. At this time, Logo patted Cindy on the shoulder with admiration. "Keep working hard and go do your work." Cindy looked at Logo with tears in his eyes, and deliberately yelled that "You have wronged people." However, I don't know why, but as soon as I met Logo's eyes, all the grievances and anger disappeared, and I nodded honestly. What should I do? This is why people have to bow their heads when they are under the eaves. When Cindy went up, Logo glanced at Bucky and Misiro again, nodded, and then glanced at Machi and Kabeka one by one, feeling even more satisfied. Not to mention those little pirates, the total value of just these few people has reached million. Adding in the million he currently has, the total value has reached million. Rounding it off, it's another million. It's just a pity. If the skills of V5 are higher, the chance of success is too small. Thinking that he seemed to have opened an extra Fallen room and a key to Fallen, he didn't plan to stay in the cell any longer. He left the cell and returned to his room. Logo opened the Hunter Qualification Certificate, and then opened Between the Fallen. This is a brand new page, but it is not a store. On this page, there are cells. There is a value 55 under the first cell. The cells at the back are all locked, and there is a value 05 underneath each cell. Just looking at these cells, Logo already had a lot of associations. For example, if you think about the number 5 that is written on the wanted poster that qualifies you for arrest: Arita, Flota, Kabeka, Machi, and Bucky. Since the arrest, Logo has arrested exactly 5 people, and the first Misiro was hacked to death. In this way, the reason why we open Between Fall now is because the cell happens to be filled with 5 people. Shaking his head, he felt no difficulty. And in the lower right corner of the page, it says, "Key to the Fall 1. Then, what is the use of this thing?" I reached out and clicked on the cell, and suddenly a reminder appeared in front of my eyes. Whether to use the key of the Fall. Logo thought about it carefully. He always felt weird. Why did he want to open the cell and release them? After less than 3 seconds of silence, Logo still chose yes. Now that you have given yourself a key to Fall, you can't let yourself use the key to Fall to release the people you work so hard to capture. Facts have proved that it is indeed not the meaning of letting people go. After Logo made his choice, the next second, although the cell door opened, 5 heads jumped out. If you look closely, you will see that these 5 avatars are Arita, Flota, Kabeka, Machi and Baki. At the same time, a highlight rotated rapidly between the 5 heads. It was fast at first, then gradually slowed down, and finally moved frame by frame. Until finally, it landed on Bucky's head and could not stop. Move. Get skills torn apart. Luogu stared at this prompt for a long time before he understood, it's a lottery. After reaching out and clicking on this reminder, the next second, subtle power suddenly flowed in his body, and at the same time information exploded in his mind. He didn't know if he was in the same state as him after eating the devil fruit. Anyway, judging from his own feeling, the current state is no different from his own skill upgrade. The reminder disappeared after he clicked, and the 5 heads returned to the cell, and he could even hear the sound of the cell door being locked. Look at the lower right corner again. Key to the fall 0. Consuming a fallen key, you can get a chance to draw a lottery. 5 pirates share a cell. The fallen key can open any cell at will and draw 5 people in the cell. Luogu rubbed his forehead and sorted out the methods of using fall between. So, in addition to getting skills by killing pirates, you can also get skills by capturing pirates and give them the key of fall. The rule is that there are 5 pirates and 1. Well, we can take a look at this later. He took another look at the first cell. Can the cells that have been extracted be able to be extracted again? It should be possible. After all, the cell hasn't turned gray. Thinking of this, he smiled. This is very strange. Does it mean that the order in which I catch the pirates has become important? Well, does this mean that ordinary pirates can just be killed, the kind with special powers, it's valuable to catch it? After thinking for a while, I felt that ordinary pirates could at least exchange for a lot of bounties. It's all good, let's see. Luogu decided not to ponder this question for the time being, and then he opened the hunter certificate. In the skill column, there is already one more skill. Fall apart V1. Bucky the Clown's ability, this skill won't turn me into a landlubber, right? Luogu was a little worried suddenly, but after thinking about it, he didn't eat the devil fruit, and he got this skill from his golden finger, so it shouldn't be possible. Moreover, if you look at the current situation, as long as you capture enough pirates in the future, you may have more than one devil fruit ability. This is quite scary. Seeing that he still had 4 black iron coins, Luogu didn't hesitate. In fact, there was nothing to hesitate, and he used them directly. Update successed. Update successed. Update successed. Update successed. Fall apart V5. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Pirate's Bounty Don't Run Away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 29. The black iron coins were cleared, and Luogu didn't plan to buy new ones in the short term. Point 1 Kanju. In fact, he didn't buy the ones used today. Everyone with the qualifications to arrest can get a black iron coin, so even though it was torn apart and hit V5, it didn't cost a penny. But if you want to reach V6, you can't do it with Suantai coins. Is this why you can give Suantai coins to any pirate you catch? There is absolutely no reason why the prices in coin shops increase hundreds of times. But if 100 black iron coins can be exchanged for 1 gold coin, it seems to be a good deal. Of course, I think so, but it seems very difficult to catch 100 pirates. Besides, if I catch 100 pirates, I won't be able to collect 1 billion. No matter what you think, it should be fine. The Great Line, the New World, as long as the pirates there can capture it, which one is only worth 10 million. So, having a golden finger is just too much. It's terrifying for those who block the cheats. Luogu pretended to be self-pitying, and then carefully felt the skill of falling apart. Simply put, it's basically the same as Bucky's split fruit ability. You can actively or passively split your body. The split body cannot be too far away, and the approximate distance is within 2 meters. Unlike Bucky, Rogu's skill is time sensitive. The time limit for each level is different. Now that it is V5, the time it can be decomposed is only 5 minutes. In this regard, it determines the difference between skills and fruits. To use a simple analogy, Bucky was once captured with a part of his body, and then he was blown away by Luffy like a dream that was set free. The remaining body actually reassembled into a little Bucky. But if Luogu suffered from the same situation, it would be impossible to form a small Luogu. Once the 5-minute statute of limitations passed, he would have no choice but to die. But even so, this is also a very interesting ability for Luogu. At least, it's absolutely top-notch in terms of life-saving. After closing the sinking room and the hunter qualification certificate, Luogu asked Cindy to serve him a cup of coffee, and sat on the rocking chair in the room to rock slowly. He was thinking about falling. The maneuverability is really great. The fall is like a bug. If 5 pirates gather into a cell, they can get a key to the fall and randomly select the abilities of the 5 prisoners in a certain room. If conditions permit, I can select 5 very capable people and put them together in a cell to draw. If I can't draw them at once, I can find 5 more pirates who are qualified to catch them, and I can get more a key to the fall, and then perform a secondary extraction on that cell, but all this is based on the fact that each cell has a secondary extraction. He tapped his fingers lightly on the table. Not only that, the wanted order can also give me a certain ability to kill pirates, which is also a very powerful ability. However, after killing, the bounty will be halved. Fortunately, the Navy can give you a full bounty. So, in this way, the loss is only a quarter, which is not unacceptable. Then the question came, what do I need most now? Luogu raised his head and looked at the sky. Speaking of domineering or natural abilities, if I really face those strong pirates, can I win? Thinking of this, Luogu gradually calmed down from the power of Goldfinger. The most powerful one is Golden Finger. At present, Luogu doesn't feel that he is truly invincible. After all, there are too many perverts in this world. The monsters in the New World and the strong men on the Grand Line can do whatever they want if the East China Sea is calm. Just relying on Zinuelia V5 is not enough. Luogu murmured to himself, and then sighed, unfortunately, it is probably difficult to find it here in the East China Sea, so that I can identify my opponent. Hawkeye will appear in the sea restaurant, but for an opponent of that level, is it necessary to challenge it? There is always a kind of kid who doesn't know the heights of the world. After leaving the novice village, he will directly challenge the OSS. Don't be in a hurry, just give it a try. On the deck, the harmonious sea breeze is blowing. The few people in shackles performed their duties, and seemed to have accepted their fate. Especially Cindy, after being tricked by Luogu once, it seems that some changes have taken place. He became polite to the prisoners on the ship, but became more humble to Luogu. Luogu didn't bother to pay attention to what kind of mental journey he had gone through, and didn't care about his various little thoughts. In fact, if this guy finds another big pirate with more than million to catch Luogu will only be happier. Standing on the deck, Luogu was waving the black pill in his hand. Although he has been using the Alrita brand iron stick in the last few battles, it is still impossible to let go of Zinuelia's sword skills. However, the current training intensity is already difficult for him to improve, and the progress is so slow that it can make people crazy. But Luogu didn't go crazy and still kept going step by step every day. No accumulation of steps, no distance to thousands of miles. Although Goldfinger is very strong, but without Rogu's hard work in the past 3 years, even with Goldfinger, he would not be able to defeat me Zero. When a pirate hunter can't even catch a pirate, even having golden fingers is useless. Luogu always remembered his speculation that the stronger his physical fitness, the stronger the skills that Golden Finger could improve. Therefore, cultivation is still necessary. Now, Several days have passed since the day when Bucky was captured in Orangetown. The sea is still calm, there are no pirates, no navy, no Luffy drifting in the barrel, and not many merchant ships. The entire East China Sea gives people the feeling that it is an old man in his dying years. Serene and tranquil. Suddenly, the waves rolled and the waves surged. The expressions of several pirates who were working on the boat changed. Zindi moved the shackles and came to the side of the boat in a few steps. Looking at the huge waves rolling in the sea, her whole face began to twitch. Hi hey. He looked at Luogu, stretched out his finger to the sea, and said tremblingly, but couldn't say a complete sentence. And Luogu just looked at the black pill in his hand, and seemed to be lost in thought, because one suddenly popped up in his mind just now. There was a loud bang, the waves scattered, and a huge object suddenly rushed out of the water. With its ferocious giant head and mouth full of fangs, it brought with it a fishy wind. The whole ship began to shake violently, and the water surface undulated. Neptune class. Xian Dipoyan's voice screamed, and several pirates who controlled the ship sat on the ground, their faces pale. In the East China Sea, facing the Neptunes is almost like facing the god of death. The only thing he could count on was Luogu, but Luogu didn't know what he was thinking, and he became stunned at this critical moment. It's not like he was so frightened that he was dumbfounded, right? The sharp and rapid sound of breaking the wind suddenly sounded, and the sea kings who were raising their bodies and wantonly exuding their own terrifying majesty suddenly stopped moving. The next second, a string of blood appeared between its neck, and its huge head slowly slid off. Oh, Neptune Luoguru woke up from his dream, looked at the black pill in his hand, and smiled slightly. Snack dinner tonight. Pirate's Bounty Don't Run Away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 30. The deck was full of blood, and it was here that the huge body of the Sea King was disemboweled. Da Cheng. As the overlord of the sea, even if he is dead, his huge body still makes these little pirates tremble with fear. During the process of disemboweling, his hands were shaking. If Luogu wasn't still there, they would probably abandon their swords and run away. As for Cindy, the treacherous pirate, he commanded them to dismember the Sea Kings while looking at Luogu with even more fear. Of course he is afraid of Sea Kings, even if they are dead Sea Kings, their sinuous demon-like body, ferocious back, not to mention the huge and ugly head, can devour human souls. But what he is more afraid of is Luogu. Such a terrifying existence like the Neptune was actually killed by this person with a casual sword, just like driving away mosquitoes. Who is this? Although in the matter of Alita, he knew that this person was not easy to mess with. However, that is still not out of the human realm. It was precisely because of this that he dared to target Luogu. However, today's sword cut off not only the head of a Sea King, but also Xind's 3 views. This is not what humans do. The dismemberment continued, and most of the complete pieces of meat were sent directly to the kitchen. The ship's storage capacity was limited, and some broken parts were directly thrown back into the sea. All the bones and skins of the Neptune species were also returned to the sea. Xind came to Luogu with the clatter of shackles and said, "Captain, how do you plan to eat Neptune?" Luogu seemed to be deep in thought. After hearing this, he looked up at him and said thoughtfully, "What do you think?" What Cindy fears most is seeing Luogu looking thoughtful. She always feels that as long as this guy is thoughtful, she will soon be in trouble. Then he smiled bitterly and said, "Well, the Neptune species has always been just a legend. We have heard of it, but we have never seen it, let alone eaten it." "That's quite a pity," Luogu said. "I heard that the meat of the Neptune type is very delicious." "Well, it's up to you to make the soup and fry it." "I don't care, just wait and eat." Yes, when Cindy heard this, she didn't dare to say anything and turned around to get busy. Luogu still sat in his original position, looking at his hand and the black pill in his hand. He was thoughtful just now, but in fact it had nothing to do with Cindy, he was just feeling the feeling of the sword just now. In fact, it is still Zinnuelio's swordsmanship. The difference is that at that time, Luogu was considering a possibility, the possibility of fusing Julie and Zinnuelio together. The characteristic of Julie is to integrate all the strength of the body into one point, and then explode out, resulting in super explosive power in a short period of time. Luogu believes that Zinnuelio V5 is actually a very high level. Whether it's my own perception or the state of using it, I always feel that I haven't played the sword skill to its peak. It's because the strength is not enough. That being the case, let's try using Julie's technique and Zinnuelio's sword skills. When he was thinking about this, the immortal Sea King creature suddenly appeared, and then the sword was swung out as a matter of course. Outstanding effect. Although Luogu believed that with his own strength, he would not be able to use such moves and just use Zinnuelio's sword skills, and the Neptune type would probably be unable to do anything to him. But it is definitely not as straightforward as it is now. Well, it seems that I am also a person with unique skills. I opened the Hunter qualification certificate, but I didn't find this move in the skill column. This is probably because this move is the fusion move of Zinnuelio and Julie, so there is no need to list a separate skill. Moreover, this move is far from the limit. In the final analysis, it is never my moves that have the limit, but the power that my body can exert. Julie and Zinnuelio are the same, they can be stronger when they break through their limits, and the combination of the two skills will also be more powerful. That night, Luogu got his wish and tasted the delicious taste of Neptune. And he was addicted to it in an instant, but the reason for his addiction was not only because it was delicious, but more importantly, the bodies of sea kings were rich in nutrients. For a person who is practicing, this is definitely a good thing worthy of praise. Work out intensely, eat nutritious foods, and turn them into your own strength. Therefore, in the following days, Luogu tempered himself even more crazily, and then crazily devoured the flesh of Neptunes. It's a pity that although the bodies of sea kings are huge, there are still a few that can survive on the ship. After all, the cabin is relatively small. Coupled with the harsh storage environment, a lot of meat will rot if it is not handled properly. For this reason, the vast majority had to be discarded. Except for Luogu, who only eats sea kings, the prisoners on the ship are provided with a meal every day, and they are not allowed to eat enough. The purpose is to keep them alive, but they will not let them live too well. After all, it is something that is exchanged for money. But even if the most basic food supply is maintained every day, the food on board is also visibly reduced. In addition to the things that Cindy brought up, the inventory on the ship was also stolen from Macelone, and the people in Orange Town also gave away a lot at its peak. The entire storage room was unable to move. But now, it is almost empty. This made Luogu deeply realize how much financial resources it takes to raise a large group of people. I also understood one thing. Catching pirates can certainly make money, but these little pirates are really not that interesting, especially when your destination is not yet clear and you don't know where to get rid of these little pirates, and taking them on a long-term voyage, it is definitely a decision that reaches the extreme level of nonsense. Because this is very likely to cause Luogu's finances to make ends meet. After a long time, you will lose. Luogu was quite troubled by this. Thankfully, after 2 days Rogu's worries were over as he saw land again. And this is a town with a port. Ships docked. Luogu even saw a naval station not far from the port. "Captain, we seem to have arrived at a place again." Cindy looked at Luogu with a pale face, with a flattering smile on his face. Luogu also smiled and nodded, "Yes, you can be relieved too." Cindy's good smile gradually disappeared and turned into a sad face. To be honest, he doesn't want to get off the ship at all now. His state is a bit of a dilemma. After getting off the boat, he will be sent to prison by Rogu, and then he will become inmates with the clown Bucky and Flotta. In view of the series of things he did on the ship, he can be sure that he can still survive with Rogu. But once he really went to prison, he would definitely be dead. Whether it's Bucky or Flota, they all believe that Cindy and Rogu are in the same group. If they are thrown in again, the two of them will eat themselves raw with just steamed buns.